Hello everybody, welcome to another Monday of Rambling About Miniatures. This one Monday the 27th of September 2021. With me, Daki Young, as always. And we have the completed pile or group here. 8 minis this week, all done and dusted, of various types. Well, there's only 2 types. There's Reaper Bones and there's hassle-free miniatures. Let's start with the Reaper stuff. We have the classic princess here in a wimple. Maybe a wizard princess because she's got the stars on her cap and kind of a wizard-like cap. Yeah, just your basic blonde princess. We have a kind of dragonborn pirate who fancy looking in his blue coat. We have a tiefling rogue. I painted this one with red skin and purple hair, and just high contrast clothing. We have a sort of elven fighter of some sort with a big sword. This one is not a very... This is an older Bones model, kind of muddled details. But I went with a sort of violet color for her hair as well. It's varied up a bit and painted the armor as mostly leather, blue sash. What else do we have here? Oh, we have the Knoll pirate. You can see I reused some colors here. The blue is recurring in a lot of these models. Yeah, not much to say about that. And then we have the 3 hassle-free minis. We have a scientist dude in a lab coat and jeans and a t-shirt or something. And he's standing on... Well, I decided this floor should be like steel, like burnished steel, but it's kind of dirty and grungy, and there's some old soda cans crumpled up lying there on the floor. But otherwise it's a very simple figure. Then we have the 2 versions of Lenore. So I painted these differently. This one clearly, I think you can see, is inspired by Raven from DC Comics. Various shades of purple and black, and sort of grayish skin she has, while this one I painted more in just ordinary colors. Red dress, green cloak. Very simple contrasting paint scheme. Sort of black. These thigh-high boots are still black, even in this version, and the long fingerless gloves. It's like a sleeve for some reason. Huh. Yeah. These were all reasonably interesting to paint, and voila, they are complete. Oh, and I should add, there was no appreciable difference in the ease of painting these, because these are both from hassle-free, but this one is a resin master, and this one is metal. Difference between this is slightly lighter, and it costs about twice as much, but it's available sooner. But when he produces a new sculpt, it's you can buy it as a resin master first before it gets produced in metal and cast. So it's really only if you can't wait for a certain sculpt that it's reasonable. I mean, possibly this might not be the best model to test it out on, because there might be others where the detail is finer, where it might be more of a difference. I don't know. I just found with my normal painting techniques and at my normal speed and normal tools, yeah, there was no real difference. So that's the result of that experiment. So we've lined up the usual suspects here. The stuff that I've started, still haven't finished. Most of them are in this approximately the same state as last week. I think the bones have a little bit more paint on them. I've started to work on these. The ones in the back, because like this guy, I have no idea what to paint him as, so I just took leftover colors on my palette and slapped them on there to see what, does this purple fit for his tentacles? Maybe? And I've undercoated the anchor here in black because it's going to be metal. This guy, I still have no idea about a color scheme for him. I've dark lined him a bit to prepare. We'll see what mood strikes me. And yeah, not a whole lot to say really. Still not. I got to come up with 2 different color schemes for Marika here. It would be kind of boring to paint both versions of her the same colors. So maybe I'll look at some historical reference, because she's kind of a Landsknecht, sort of Renaissance figure with this big flamberge. So we'll see. Here's all the new bones, newly primed. Much more than I really need to have something to work on at the moment. But I just didn't want these to be sticking around in their blisters forever. So I just cleaned them up and primed them up, and a lot of these are going to be on the back burner for many weeks before I get around to them. That's okay. So, a few comments. This guy, I didn't bother straightening the spear tip because the whole spear shaft is also bent, and I thought, whatever. I don't have the patience to fix this. These little, sack puppets, I put these on new bases. I did 20mm round bases for them because the integral bases were just so tiny and they were going to get lost. The only model out of these that I had any real issues with was with this guy who comes with these little sack guys. He's like the puppeteer controlling them. There were a few issues. He had the most mold lines. Some of these had some bad mold lines. This guy had a lot of mold lines. And he's kind of miscast. There were a lot of pieces. Like this right arm was a separate piece, but also the thumb was broken off. And it looked like it was a bad casting thing. It's hard to describe, but the thumb was separate and it was lying in the blisters, so somebody stuck it in there. Maybe it was that there was a crack in the plastic and it sort of shattered during transport, because the cane, this is not the original cane. The original cane had a hairline crack in it that I tried to fix by gluing it on, but the whole thing fell apart and I had to cut it all off and replace it with a new shaft. This is from an old plastic spear shaft that I cut down to size for my bits box. Which is a shame, because the original cane is actually 2 pieces of wood twisted around each other, and it looks much more interesting. It looked more interesting. But as I said, it fell apart because of bad casting, so I had to replace it with something, and this is better than nothing. And for somebody who's not obsessive about knowing every detail of every Reaper model, they will never realize the difference, of course. So, my modeling skills came to the rescue once more. Yeah, and that is all the stuff that is currently prepped. Now, there are no new arrivals this week. I'm not expecting anything either. I have seen from the comments on the Reaper Bones 5 Kickstarter page that some people have started receiving shipping notices for the stuff that are in the same wave as me, that is wave 5 EU. I have not received mine yet, but my anticipation increases. So I need to pick something out of my existing stock for new projects. So I picked out just 5 models, and I'm starting to go with a horror theme because we're moving into October, and October is the month of Halloween. So we have these classic horror figures that I recently bought. I think they came last week or the week before that from Reaper. Dracula, the Monster, and the Wolfman. And, well, not a lot to say about them. They're the classic horror movie monsters. And then I dug out the remaining 2, the last 2 Game Zone miniatures. You recall a while back, earlier this year, I bought some miniatures from Game Zone via hassle-free because they were having a sale. And I painted up most of them, the demons, but I saved these 2, which are undead. One is kind of a lich or a white of some sort with, I don't know, crossed swords. It's a little odd looking. And this one is a vampire. There's a picture, there's no blister here, there's a picture here showing what she looks like. It's a female vampire holding a sword. Kind of, I think she's licking the sword actually. Probably, I'll have to paint it like there's blood on the sword and she's licking that off. That seems to be the reasonable way to go with this. She's kind of an interesting cast. The clothing, the tattered clothing is not well sculpted. It just looks kind of trashy, but oh well. It's an interesting concept. So, I am, like I said, I'm only prepping 5 new models because I wanted to try to reduce the backlog. I have so much stuff in the queue already. So if I can prep these until next week and paint more than 5 of the stuff currently on my table, then I will have reduced that queue a little bit. That is my hope. Anyway, that leaves us finished for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done so before. Comment about what you thought. And above all, be back here a week from now, same day of the week, same channel, same Dakian, who's now signing off.